What is Marcus Dynasty Football Dads? We have some big news. Tyreek Hill being traded from the Kansas City Chiefs to the Miami Dolphins for a first, second, some later picks as well in the 2022 draft class. And really, this is a big trade. There's lots of implications for players to go up, players to go down in value, and implications for the 2022 draft class. And so first of all, let's go through Kansas City players, because I think it's easy to just go Kansas City, Miami, draft class. What big implications is going to be going on? First of all, Tyreek Hill signed a 4-year, $120 million extension, $30 million a year. So that's the ramifications. That is what is being given to the Miami Dolphins, or that's what Miami Dolphins have agreed upon. Let's go through Kansas City. Patrick Mahomes is going to be a decrease. Patrick Mahomes is going to have Travis Kelce, an older Travis Kelce. They have Juju Smith-Schuster, which is going to have a bump in this situation. And really, it's like, what is the other wide receiver weapons going to be? Now, I do have a prediction for the 2022 draft class when it comes to, man, this hurts my Waddle stocks. We'll get there. We're going to get to Miami, but let's talk about Kansas City first. And so, I think Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes is going to have a decrease. Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen. Well, now you could arguably say that Josh Allen has a ton better situation there, and you could say Patrick Mahomes, Herbert. You could also say Herbert has a better core around him as well. Patrick Mahomes moving him from 1 to 3 in Dynasty, I think, is drastic, but I would really say that they are now all right into a tier. Patrick Mahomes is now in a tier with Josh Allen and Herbert. I think that you could arguably say if you want Allen ahead of Mahomes, before this news, I would have said, I still want Mahomes. He's got Hill, and if he signs an extension with Hill, then he'll have Hill, and he'll have Kelce for at least another year or two, and he'll have Hill potentially for 4 years, which now we see we don't, and they can even draft a wide receiver in the first 2 rounds, and really have that good team around him, especially with Juju Smith-Schuster as being kind of that slot, low ADOT player, average depth of target. But now he doesn't have that. He doesn't have Tyreek Hill blowing the top off, and he knows that used to be one of his go-to. When he was in trouble, Tyreek Hill was that guy, that safety valve of always being able to get open. You throw it as far as you possibly want, and he'll get to it. Because Tyreek Hill is faster than any other player, basically in this planet, at least in the NFL. And so Patrick Mahomes' value will decrease. Will it decrease enough? I think he's now stuck in this tier where I'll have to look at it, but I'm really thinking that Josh Allen will be QB number 1 after this news. We'll have to see if the Chiefs draft a really good wide receiver that I end up liking, and that may equal them out, but I'm going to say Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, now QB2, even though he has crazy talent. Josh Allen has that better rushing upside as well, and then number 3 will be Justin Herbert. Running back-wise, it's not going to really matter a ton with Kansas City, but you look at Kelce's value. I think Kelce's value is going to be similar. I think they're going to have a wide receiver in this draft class coming up. So I don't think that Kelce's value really changes. If anything, Kelce's probably going to be even targeted more, but you're going to have to see that age. So Kelce is going to be the guy. He's going to be the guy. And so the person that gets the biggest bump up, at least Kansas City-wise, is Juju Smith-Schuster and the future wide receiver, any wide receiver of the Kansas City Chiefs. So we got Juju. I think his value is definitely going to increase. This move doesn't make sense to me as a Kansas City Chief. It's like everyone's getting stronger, and now Kansas City is getting a lot weaker. Miami-wise, you have, of course, Tua Tagovailoa. His increase is going to be astronomical. You have Waddle, and you have Tyreek Hill. You have you have Gesicki coming back. You have Mostert, and you have Chase Edmonds. He has everything in place to succeed. Tua Tagovailoa easily could be, in fantasy, a low-end QB1. You could see him at that 9-10 range. I think that's easily something that you could see from Tua. It's crazy how that much just changes. What does this change for Waddle? What does this change for Gesicki? I think this is the biggest hurt probably for Gesicki. Because now, Gesicki, I think, is easily the least talented of the 3. I think Waddle is going to still be able to get a ton of targets. Hill's going to get open. Hill and Waddle are a very unfair combo to have. And then there was a lot of people going into the collegiate from when Waddle was going into the NFL Combine that said that he was kind of like the closest thing to Tyreek Hill. You've heard it every year by somebody, but Waddle and Tyreek Hill are the closest thing to each other. And having 2 of them is kind of unfair. I see a lot of targets going through that air, and so this is you're kind of seeing the scheme that Miami's putting together. I don't think they're going to draft a running back. I really don't. I think that they are going to be stuck into. Our running game is going to be through the air. We're going to dump it to Chase Edmonds. We're going to be throwing these little screens to Waddle. We're going to be throwing it, and Waddle's going to, and Hill's going to have the deep end coverage. Hill's dynasty value in general, most important value, I think Hill dynasty value will decrease here. I think it will decrease. I think he'll go from like wide receiver 4 to like wide receiver like 6, 7. This is going to be a little bit of a hurt for him. He doesn't have Patrick Mahomes. He's going to do it. He's going to have to compete with Waddle, which is going to be more of the same type of wide receiver he is. So I would say Waddle he hurts maybe a spot or two, but Waddle's so young. I think there's just going to be a lot of separation, a lot of fun plays in Miami. I would love to be a Dolphin fan. I might have to be a Miami Dolphin fan this year. And then Gesicki, I think this is going to be the biggest hurt for him because it's going to be Waddle and Hill, Waddle and Hill, Waddle and Hill. I think that's what you're going to get. You're going to get a ton of targets. You're going to have 2 viable fantasy wide receivers. Think Thielen and Justin Jefferson. They're going to be different. There's going to be probably more boom or bust. So be patient with that. There's going to be games where you're going to have Tyreek Hill being wide receiver 1, and you're going to have Waddle being 55. And then you're going to have Waddle being 1, and you're going to have Hill being this 3 catch for 30 yards. And we saw a lot of that with even Tyreek Hill towards the end of the year at Kansas City. There were some games that he was 3 for 30, and then there was games that he was 7 for 202, and you were like, well, you can't bench him. 2022 draft class, let's go through that very briefly. I think that this is the Kansas City and the Green Bay wide receivers are going to be 2 wide receivers that are going to have the biggest bump in landing spot. So if you are Chris Olave, if you are Christian Watson, if you are even Garrett Wilson, Drake London, Treylon Burks, should we worry about Juju? I thought Hill would help him get open. I'm not really worried about Juju. He's going to have a ton of targets in Kansas City. I think losing Hill might seem like it hurts, but I think in that situation, Juju's going to get a ton of lower average depth of targets. I think that you kind of saw that the wide receiver 2 of the Chiefs was really the wide receiver 3 of the Chiefs, and so now him actually being the wide receiver 1, I think that doesn't really affect him a ton. But the 2022 draft class, I can see the Green Bay Packers and the Chiefs wide receiver, whoever gets drafted, those get the biggest bumps. And I mean, we're talking a full tier bump, or you're moving from that back of the tier to the front of the tier. Jameson Williams, could see him getting drafted number 1 overall wide receiver in certain dynasty drafts. Treylon Burks, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, if he gets drafted by the Packers and the Chiefs, you're talking about he goes from wide receiver 5, 6, wherever the consensus is, all the way up to maybe 2, 3, because people are going to be desperate for these landing spots, and I don't blame them. I mean, if you have a talented player that's going to be in a high dynamic offense, Chris Olave, even Christian Watson, if he gets drafted at the end of the first round or beginning or the second round pick by a Kansas City Chief or Packer, that spot is going to look like gold. And if a team is going to invest that much capital and be in a top 8 offense, you almost have to bump them up that much. So those landing spots are going to be crazy to see what happens. But again, we'll see. Can't believe this. Another trade happened. Man, what's next? What is next? Is Tom Brady going to get traded? Is Peyton Manning coming back from retirement? We'll see. All right. Peace out. Take care.